Greetings! If you're looking to do some front suspension work on your Hyundai Sonata, then you came to the right place. You're watching the Car Doctor channel. Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tim. I'm here at my repair shop, Donor Automotive in Anchorage, Alaska. And I thought I'd produce a quick video on replacing these front suspension, actually upper control arm assemblies and lower ball joints. This is an 05 Hyundai Sonata, actually an 08, sorry about that. But it would cover 05 through 2010, I believe. Sonatas, the Azera model, and very similar to the Kia Amanti vehicles as well. And Hyundai, partial owner of Kia, based in Seoul, South Korea. And President Kim Jong-un of the company named the Sonata vehicle, the Sonata, the root word for the Korean word Rolling Tong, which stands for rolling poo, is shipped over these fine vehicles. Actually, they're a half-decent vehicle and very economical for the price point. That's about all I can say about that. So anyway, pretty popular rig up here. Front wheel drive vehicle, and I'm just going to replace the front upper control arm assembly and the lower ball joint on this. The upper assembly, it's a stamped steel component here. It's got a little wear on the cracking on the control arm bushings, and it's thin stamped steel arm itself, and you can press the ball joint out, but in this case, with the mileage on this rig, it's been beat up pretty hard. I've decided to replace the whole assembly. You can do either one. And then the lower ball joint, I'll show you that. It's a little different control arm on the bottom where the ball joint bolts onto the knuckle and slides into the lower arm. So let's get started on this. Appreciate you coming by. You might want to use your eye protection and hearing protection in this video. One thing right off the bat to note is the brake hoses and ABS wiring on this. It's kind of it's all over the place, and there's like 4 different fasteners and brackets, and they intertwine. So take a special note of how these lines are run, because you're going to need to figure out how to get it put back together again. But as you can see, it's a little tricky. So anyway, we'll remove that brake caliper, get the rotor off, and go from there. Remove some of these ABS and brake line brackets. ahead and remove this brake caliper. A couple of 17 millimeter. And we'll suspend the caliper. So I just kind of compress the piston a little bit here. And I just got a wire that will use to hang the caliper back here, out of the way. Remove the rotor. I'm going to remove the outer tie rod end nut on the stud. A little light on the subject. It's also 17 millimeter. Here's the upper ball joint stud. Remove that cotter pin there. I guess you couldn't really see that, but remove the cotter pin there. Remove that upper ball joint stud. Then we can bust this baby off here. Also, one thing I didn't say is I've got this vehicle supported under the frame here, not under the control arm, because you want to allow this control arm to drop down. We're going to have to actually remove the strut assembly. So you want to lift it underneath. Go ahead and remove this axle nut now. Make sure that's loose. And remove the two attaching bolts, attaching the ball joint to the knuckle. Then we can completely remove the knuckle. Okay, you can see where the ABS wiring actually goes through the brake hose. So I'll just try to set that over there out of the way. So this is the lower ball joint here. Okay, now we got to remove this strut assembly. Got this cross bolt here. Just a 3/4 19 millimeter there. Also got this sway bar link over here. Oops. And that is not a 3/4. Now remove these 3 strut mounting bolts. Go back down here, pull that strut out. Just finish pulling this cross bolt out of the bottom of the strut. It goes to the lower arm. my brake hose. Bracket bolts there. Pull it out like so. Set that aside. And that just gives us access to this upper control arm here. So if we weren't doing the whole arm assembly, we could possibly get this ball joint out without pulling the arm, but it would be difficult because of clearances up in here. So one thing you need to do now is, if you're going to tighten this down with it up on the rack, you can see where this control arm's at. You have two options. You can leave these bushing bolts loose until you lower the vehicle and jounce it and then tighten them. But sitting where it's at now, that's where the suspension is at rest. You can just mark where it's at. Or you could measure the distance here and then put your arm right back where it was. That's going to get you pretty much zeroed in. So I might get some people balking at that, but as long as you get it right back where it is now, you're going to be fine. You don't want to tighten this down with it slanted down here, because then when you let the suspension back down, it's going to rip those bushings out of the ends of the arms, and we don't want that. The right way to do it is probably leave them loose and lower the suspension and whatnot, but they're very difficult to get at with the strut assembly in there. So good luck with all that. But then it's just a matter of removing the two attaching bolts inside. And the arm assembly. Alright, I'm just using these Moog parts. I try to do Moog as often as possible because I don't like doing front end repairs more than once. And they're quality parts. I recommend the K series, not the RK series. The RK is more of the Econo line of parts, but sometimes that might be all that's available. But anyway, here's the whole arm assembly from Moog, and we'll go ahead and put this baby back in. Put it right back where it was. And we torque these bolts to 47 foot-pounds. There we go. Okay, now we'll go ahead and install the strut assembly back into the car. Oops, better get that. Hello, this is the Car Doctor Studios. Dr. D speaking, how can I help you? Oh, hello Cindy, how are you? No, yeah, I remember you had called and you were having trouble with it, kind of getting going in the morning, and kind of a lack of power, and just didn't feel like things were moving smoothly. No, I'd said first thing we need to do is completely flush all the fluids out, and then refill everything, and then lube up the rear end real good, and get it out on the highway, and just go as fast as you could. And then we're going to get you back in here and get up on the rack and take a look. Oh, you thought I was a medical doctor? This wasn't the car you were oh, that's not good. No, that's not good for anyone. Okay, I am not a medical doctor, okay? We do rear end work here, but not that kind, okay? Let's put this strut in there. Get a few of those upper strut mounting bolts. Rub it on there. Put the cross bolt back through. Go up and tighten down those upper strut mounting bolts. They're going to be torqued to, let's see, I do not know what that torque is. Probably about 40, but we'll double check here. Okay, we'll tighten these down to 43 foot-pounds, and that lower cross bolt is 58 on this vehicle. And attach this one brake hose mount here at the strut. we'll go ahead and install the ball joint onto the knuckle. And the ball joint gets torqued to the arm at 87 foot-pounds. This ball joint does have a grease zerk, which you have to orient away from the backing plate so that you can access the grease zerk. But I'm going to go ahead and put a little Loctite on the attachment bolt. Just some blue Loctite, just for safety's sake. And mount it like so. Snug them down a little bit. Go ahead and put the grease zerk in now. There we go. Get a little close up of this for you. All right. Now I gotta try and remember how I twisted this. I don't want to put a loop in here, but just like so. And I'll go ahead and reattach this. And go ahead and install this upper ball joint stud. Actually, we'll just finger tight the lower ball joint stud. And then pry this upper arm into position. Like so. Try to get a better angle of what we're doing here. Just prying that down so. Okay, now we torque the upper ball joint stud to knuckle, and we do that at 33 foot-pounds torque. Install the cotter pin. And we torque the lower to 111. Reattach the sway bar end link here. And go ahead and install the rotor. Go ahead and reinstall the brake caliper. Putting a little blue Loctite on the mounting bolts just for good measure. Now we torque the caliper to knuckle bolts to 55 foot-pounds. And I just reattach all the brake hose and ABS wiring brackets. Now we'll torque the spindle nut by inserting a screwdriver in the vanes of the rotor so that the rotor can't turn clockwise. And we're going to torque that to 207 foot-pounds. I'm just using an 1 1/16 inch socket. This is a critical torque. You want to make sure and get this right. You don't want it loose, you don't want it overly tight. You'll have premature bearing failure. Okay. See where our cotter pin is. You're going to have to a little bit more. Okay. Install and torque our tie rod end stud. And the tie rod end stud is going to be torqued at 25 foot-pounds. Then we put our cotter pin in, and I'm going to go ahead and grease that lower ball joint. A little bit. Since I'll be aligning this, and I recommend that you do the same, I'm just going to put a little bit of penetrant on the inner tie rod there, the adjusting sleeve, just to make it easier for the alignment guy if you're going to take it somewhere. They'll love you if you put a little penetrant on there, a little love. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and throw the wheel back on. I've double checked, make sure your brake lines and ABS wiring, none of that's touching any rotating components. Make sure you haven't bent the little backing plate here. There's no debris stuck in there making a brake noise. Which is exactly what I got going on. Interfering a little bit at the bottom. There you go. All right, and we'll go ahead and reinstall the wheel and torque that to 75 foot-pounds. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and realign the front end after we get this buttoned up here. Just a reminder, be sure to consult your repair manual for all this procedure, even the torque specs. That's going to vary by vehicle, year model perhaps. Also check the documentation that comes with your particular ball joint or control arm, and that torque value may be vary a little bit there. So this video is just for entertainment purposes, and I hope it's been entertaining, and I hope it's helpful information for you, and I appreciate you checking out my channel. I will catch you next time. Take care.